Hello and welcome to the next installment of your video lectures. Today we are going to talk about needs discovery. I can't emphasize this enough. Needs discovery is the key to success for a salesperson. If you walk into a prospect's office and just start presenting a product or a service, a product or a service, you're blown out of the water. You're not going to be nearly as successful as if you had asked about the problems or the issues that the customers are having and then fit a product or a service to those issues. Today we're going to talk about spin selling. I introduced spin selling during our synchronous meeting on Monday night. Today we're going to go deeper into spin selling, and then when we get together on Monday night coming up, this coming Monday, we are going to role play a lot on the spin selling technique. Now, as I've said before, we use a 6-step sales process. The second step of the sales process is needs discovery. Within that needs discovery is when we use our spin selling techniques. So today we are going to talk about step 2 of the selling process, and then the methodology we use inside step 2, which is spin selling. If you learn anything in this entire class, learn the spin technique on needs discovery and learn that needs discovery is the most important aspect of any salesperson's job, and needs discovery will launch a salesperson's career. With that being said, let's get started. As I said in the introduction, this particular chapter is all about needs discovery. So, as we talked the other night in our first synchronous meeting, we are using a 6-step sales presentation methodology here. Approach, need discovery, presentation, negotiation, close, and servicing the sale. As we progress through the semester, we're going to talk about each aspect. What we did on Monday night was we role-played the approach. The approach, as you know, and as we talked about on Monday night, is all about breaking the ice, establishing a rapport, building trust, and doing it fairly quickly. The approach should only take about 2 to 3 minutes. We role-played the Peloton scenario as people came in. We established an approach. I role-played in front of the class to let everybody know how it was to be done. Now we're going into needs discovery. Needs discovery is all about understanding what does the customer want, what problems are the customer is having, what is the situation, what is the customer's business, the industry, all of those types of questions to make you understand what the customer is doing and what their problems are so that you can fit a solution, your solution being either your product or your service, to that particular need. Our consultative sales process, the 6-step process that I just talked about, is all about trying to increase customer satisfaction. I talked about this in my very first lecture. The more you call on a prospect and the more you help them, the more they're going to want to see you. That will lead to repeat sales, more closed sales, more referrals, fewer order cancellations, all those types of things. However, if you don't play win-win, if you're not doing a consultative sales process and actually solving problems for your customers and helping your customers out by fitting a product or service that you're selling to their problems, then they're not going to want to see you as often. If you're not playing win-win, you're going to get more order cancellations, you're going to get more order returns, and you're not going to get the repeat business. That's why that 6-step consultative sales process is so important. Ensuring that we are making sure it's a win-win. A win for you because you're selling a product, and a win for your customers because you're solving your customers' needs. So today we're really going to talk about needs discovery, which is all about probing or questioning. And then as you're listening, we're also going to talk about active listening in here. As you're listening, You're thinking about what's the best product or the best service or the best solution, combination of product and services, to solve that particular problem or to solve that particular customer's needs. That will help when you go into the presentation mode, which is persuading, informing, reminding, etc., and then finally servicing the sale. So if you look, today we're going to talk really about the needs discovery and the selection of a solution for your product. The time spent on needs discovery is going to vary, but I can tell you the time spent on needs discovery is going to be the longest time in your sales approach. You are going to be listening more than you're talking. You're going to be asking open-ended questions to get the prospect to talk, to make sure that the prospect is telling all that they can talk about their particular problem or their particular need. It takes a lot of patience. I've seen young sales representatives come in and they immediately want to jump into the sales presentation and tell the prospect what's new in the industry or what new product they have, and that never works. Always, 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 after the approach, after establishing some rapport, always make sure you start with the needs approach. If in fact you skip the needs identification part of the presentation, you're going to be blown out of the water and you're not going to be nearly as successful. So again, it's going to be the longest time of the entire presentation. The time is going to depend on the sophistication of the industry, the sophistication of the customer that you're talking on, the sophistication of your product that you're trying to develop the solution for. All of those types of things are going to be the variables in needs discovery. Suffice this to say, though, I'm going to say again, needs discovery is going to be the longest portion of the sales process. So you're going to ask appropriate question, you're going to engage in active listening, and you're going to establish a buying motive for your buyer. And then after that, you're going to have to select a solution. Now, sometimes that also involves questioning. Sometimes you're writing things down as you're understanding the needs discovery process, and then you're matching your benefits with the particular needs that the prospect have. Remember, we talked about this on Monday night as we got together. A benefit is a feature, is a portion of the product or a thing about the product, and a benefit is why that product is good and how it serves the customer's needs. You're going to configure the solution and then make appropriate recommendations, and that's all about the needs satisfaction presentation. We're not going to talk about that tonight. We're going to get that or today. We're going to get involved in that when we get together on the next time. So as I said the other night, we use a methodology in our needs discovery called spin selling. Remember, don't get these confused. We use a 6-step process for our sales process, which is approach, needs discovery, presentation, handling objections, closing, and servicing the sale. But during the needs discovery process, we use spin selling methodology. SPIN stands for situation, problem, implication, and need payoff. We are going to go over the next 4 slides, each one of these, and then we are going to practice when we get together on Monday night. So situation questions deal with the facts about the buyer's existing situation. Tell me about your situation. Tell me about your industry. Situation questions deal with industry, deal with job, deal with, not problems, that's the problem question, but deal with industry, deal with the company, deal with the environment the company is dealing with. It might deal with economy or pandemic or something. Very, very broad questions. Then the problem questions ask about the buyer's pain. Now you're starting to funnel down into more sophisticated questions and more targeted questions, asking, what are your problems? Have you ever had a problem with this? Tell me what is preventing you from meeting your goals, those types of things. The implication question is all about asking how it's affecting them. Is it costing you money? Is it costing you time? Is it costing you overtime? Is it costing you sales? Are you losing customers for it? And then the need payoff question is really the questions that you ask as you transition from the needs discovery into the presentation part. All of those are part of the SPIN, S-P-I-N, aspect of the needs discovery process. So let's start with situational questions. Situational questions, again, deal with broad information. Tell me about your industry. Tell me about your business. Tell me about the environment right now within your industry. Talk to me about how the pandemic has affected your industry. Talk to me about how things work around here. Again, with situational questions, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the prospect to talk about broad aspects of their industry, of their business, of what's going on. Then we go into the problem discovery questions. These questions help show the prospects their problem. And there's nothing wrong with asking, are you having a problem with this? Or why am I here? What problems are you having? What can I help you with? What errors are you having? What's preventing you from doing this? What's preventing you from meeting your goals? What's preventing you from growing your business? What's preventing you from retaining customers? All of those things get into the problems. Once you can establish a problem, you are 50% there. You've got to ask your customers about that. Now, sometimes your prospects aren't really good about telling you their problems, so you've got to probe a little bit deeper. At that point in time, you might want to use close probes. Have you ever had a problem with this? Have you ever had a problem with that? If you understand the industry, you know what problems occur in the industry. If you understand the prospect's business, or if you talk to somebody else in the business, you pretty much understand what problems they're having. So there's nothing wrong with using a closed probe and saying, have you ever had a problem with this? If the prospect answers yes or no, then you've established your problem questions. Impact questions are all about how much it's costing you. A prospect could have a problem, but it might be a very small problem, or it might not occur very often. Impacted questions talk about how often the problem occurs, how much time, the implication of the problem to the business, the implication of the problem to the business, the implication of the problem to the industry, to preventing them from meeting their goals. So how many people, how much time, how much does it cost? All of those things are part of the impact questions. And then finally, the need payoff question is a transition question. Would it be helpful if you had an automated process? Would it be helpful if I could show you how our solution can fit that problem? Would it be helpful if you had a solution that would prevent that problem from occurring? Never use, if I could show you, then would you buy? That puts the prospect on edge. You're trying to pigeonhole the prospect, and that never works. What I always like to say is, would it be helpful? Because again, we are consultative salespeople, and what we're trying to do is to be helpful for the client. That is going to conclude part 1. I will be back in just a few minutes with part 2.